Chapter 7. Deliver the goods. You can't con people, at least not for long. You can create excitement. You can do wonderful promotion and get all kinds of press, and you can throw in a little hyperbole. But if you don't deliver the goods, people will eventually catch on. I think of Jimmy Carter. After he lost the election to Ronald Reagan, Carter came to see me in my office. He told me he was seeking contributions to the Jimmy Carter Library. I asked how much he had in mind, and he said, "Donald, I would be very appreciative if you committed $5 million." I was dumbfounded. I didn't even answer him. But that experience also taught me something. Until then, I'd never understood how Jimmy Carter became president. The answer is that as poorly qualified as he was for the job, Jimmy Carter had the nerve, the guts, the balls to ask for something extraordinary. That ability, above all, helped him get elected president. But then, of course, the American people caught on pretty quickly that Carter couldn't do the job, and he lost in a landslide when he ran for re-election. Ronald Reagan is another example. He's so smooth and so effective a performer that he completely won over the American people. Only now, nearly 7 years later, are people beginning to question whether there's anything beneath that smile. I see the same thing in my business, which is full of people who talk a good game, but don't deliver. When Trump Tower became successful, a lot of developers got the idea of imitating our atrium, and they ordered their architects to come up with a design. The drawings would come back, and they would start costing out the job. When they discovered that the bronze escalators were going to cost $1 million extra, and the waterfall was going to cost $2 million, and the marble was going to cost many millions more, they saw that it all added up to many millions of dollars. And all of a sudden, these people with these great ambitions would decide, well, let's forget about the atrium. The dollar always talks in the end. I'm lucky because I work in a very, very special niche at the top of the market, and I can afford to spend top dollar to build the best. I promoted the hell out of Trump Tower, but I also had a great product to promote. Oh, hi there. Sorry, I didn't see you. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. I was just reading Donald Trump's Art of the Deal, which I purchased at the public library way back in the 90s. I always thought there was something about that Trump character. He's making a speech tonight, but that's not really what we're here to talk about, is it? We're here to talk about Bitcoin, because this is Bitcoin Talk Show. And today, we're mainly talking about Tether, isn't that right? Even though Tether isn't exactly Bitcoin, but more on that soon. First, a little background on Tether. Tether is a way to hold US dollars on an exchange that doesn't hold US dollars. On its face, you're saying, wow, that's a great idea. You mean, I could run an exchange. I think there's one, Hit BTC, where, excuse me, instead of asking the traders to trade back into Bitcoin, track into Litecoin, back into Ethereum, even, have the market settle to those, you could have the market settle to Tether, to the US dollar. So you'd know exactly how much money you had. So you could trade actually in dollars, not in Bitcoin. Because there's this complication now where people say, oh, Ethereum's at an all-time high, and it's an all-time high in USD, but it's not an all-time high against Bitcoin. And that gets really confusing. So it might be easier for people to, just trade dollars. So they came up with this Tether plan. And from my basic understanding, Tether has dollars in a US account or in a bank account somewhere, and that they're linking their coin as a stable coin. One Tether is supposed to equal $1. And in their account, they're supposed to hold X number of dollars, matching the X number of Tethers in the world. And this was a cool idea for a long time. It required trust, though. We always warned people, we said, it requires trust. You have to trust that they're holding those US dollars in a bank account. And of course, this lines up previously with something we've been saying for 4 or 5 years now, that something Davi Barker said on a show long ago. He said that all of the problems with Bitcoin never come from Bitcoin. They always come from where Bitcoin touches the fiat system, meaning that when we complain about Coinbase, part of it is that Coinbase has a banking license to keep up. Coinbase has the US government suing them, trying to take their records. Coinbase is an interface between Bitcoin and the old-timey fiat system. So of course, it's going to be one of the weakest points, the weakest link in the Bitcoin chain. Tether took these same problems of Coinbase and expanded them to an altcoin. Tether became the altcoin that was linked to fiat, which is a very dangerous idea, as we're seeing today, as the old system is now engulfing Tether, looking at their business practices, wondering if they have printed more coins, and also just wondering what they're doing in general. So let's look at the price of Bitcoin. As we discussed on the Today in Bitcoin show earlier this morning, the price of Bitcoin briefly dipped below $10,000. We saw a fall to 9,731 before a rebound that currently seems to be making up its mind. We see a doji candle. This is a potential decision-making candle right here, and is currently at 10,222. Remember, there is the old 24-hour rule in effect here. We have to wait 24 hours to let the entire world know about this Tether news. Some people found out 5 or 6 hours ago. Maybe they sold up here. Some people found out down here. Maybe they sold down here, and they're already regretting it. Once again, with trading, you don't know the future. Everybody tries. They've got charts and graphs and news sources and RSS feeds and a variety of ways that they try to know the future. But even then, it's always a guess. And our future at Bitcoin is greatly affected by the news, right? We're seeing a direct example of the Tether news. So they're talking in the chat that this news is old. They knew 2 months ago. That is true. This could have been a dumping from the 19K on down. Once again, with insider information, we don't know. It's part of the whole thing. But hold on just a second. We're going to pause while I let the dogs inside. Well, either the dog didn't want in or he was just barking at the mailman. But he's inside now with the other dog outside. We're keeping track of the Tether situation. We saw a potential doji. We've got sound now. We didn't have sound for a minute there, but that's the beauty of silence. So let's take a look at the market, see how things are doing. As usual, when Bitcoin goes down, sometimes this leads to the altcoins as well. Take a look. Bitcoin down 8%, Ethereum down 6%, Ripple down 10%, Bitcoin Cash down 8%, Cardano down 10%, Neo down 6%, Litecoin down 5%, Stellar down 13%, EOS down 12%, and NEM down 13%, rounding out the top 10. So as you can see, it's all down. We're seeing significant downs. Not even a single, well, Decred is up 2.71%. $93 for a Decred. Wow. I haven't checked these things in a long time. These alts have gone nuts. But once again, if you bought yesterday, no advice given here, but probably a good idea to hold. No one really knows. We are in kind of a descending situation, so I'm not sure why you'd buy into that situation. A lot of us are just holding from before. And remember, the reason that people are holding is part of it is it takes the stress out of attempting to buy and sell all of these highs and lows. It takes the stress out of being a day trader. You can sleep at night. And finally, Bitcoin goes down just as fast as it goes up. If you didn't know that Bitcoin was going down, you're likely not going to know that Bitcoin's going up. So if you're in, you're in. You get the downs, but you also get the ups. If we go to a long enough timeline, back to the 1-week candles here, we can see the Bitcoin price is still up. If anything, we could draw a line through here, line through there, line through there, and we're still right in the middle of that line. If anything, we're returning to that line after this strange up to 19K. Presumably, looking at this chart, the Bitcoin price after correcting will go back to going up. So, I mean, if we had a better software here, we could draw the two lines and you could see it go in between the channel. People are saying it goes down twice as fast as going up. All right. Can we tell Jess's girlfriend that Jessica that her Bitcoins will go up again? No. We can't predict the price. You're just going to use us for a price prediction there. But if we look at the other spikes of Bitcoin, if we look back in time, I'm not sure if we can get the chart to even function at this scale. Maybe a little bigger. But if we look back here, you can see the 1200 spike maybe down here. Yeah, about 1,000. There it is, 1,200. So if you had bought at $1,200, you would be down for a while because the price of Bitcoin went right here is the 400. So it went to 200, 400. But eventually it went up to 5,000. And if you had bought at 5,000, you'd be down for a while, but eventually it went up to 10,000. So, and if you had bought at 10,000, you know, and it went down, you'd be down for a little while, but then it went up to 20,000. So we are looking at a weekly chart. So you can see the full scale of Bitcoin going back in time. And we can see, if anything, we stepped out of the normal channel to have this incredible rise to 19,000. And very likely we're going to return to this normal channel. Let's see what else we've got going on. Looking at the chat. Let's see. BC Joey has been ranting against Tether for months now. A lot of us agree that Tether's been a problem ever since it was invented, and now it's becoming even more of a problem. Joey was inspired by the Art of the Deal book. Not sure. My main experience with it is watching the Johnny Depp movie. I think it's on Netflix, called Art of the Deal. Depp plays Trump. It's very closely based to the book. A lot of Trump's business ideas are properly presented in the movie. They just seem really horrible, but you got to check that out. The book opening was a throwback to the old Bitcoin talk show where we would always do the book opening. So that was fun. We just used to have more guests back then. And for the record, I did invite Derek J, Chris Ellis, and Theo Goodman all back on the Bitcoin talk show to hang out with me. But they're very, very busy right now and weren't able to make it. So, but they are always welcome on the Bitcoin talk show. People say 20K soon enough. When Bitcoin hits around 75 or 7,500, it's going to blast off in a fast run. So there are a couple of competing ideas out there. One competing idea by the chart people is that Bitcoin needs to go back to 7,500. That there's something in the charts where we need to test that low before we can go higher than 19,000. A lot of people have been predicting this for a long time. They say the charts say it, so we must do it. A lot of other people think the price is being pushed down by Tether, the Bitfinex news, other bad news against Bitcoin. And actually, they have a theory based upon the futures. When the future phase comment, when the futures started on the market, I was reading the chat at the same time there. When the futures started on the market, they only started with 1 month futures to kind of test out the Bitcoin system. So we saw a close about a couple of days ago of the futures, and now there's another close that we're looking at on February the 14th. Once these futures, these single month periods close, we're going to open up into a 3-month period of futures. This means that we're only going to have the call every 3 months. Right now, we've been having these 1 month calls, and it's been stressing everything out. I think it's been constricting the Bitcoin, tightening it up. And also, if these people want it to go down so that they can make their futures bet, they can do that. And that was the first round of futures. Everybody, again, you hate to say this, but Wall Street can really take some money. They have a real kind of a showman circus quality to it. But when everyone was watching the TV and they were all saying Bitcoin's amazing and Bitcoin's gone up so much and all these people got rich off Bitcoin and all this story, right? That's when they opened the futures. So, and it's sad to look at it this way, but you have to imagine a bunch of cattle just came into the futures market there, and they were all, bullied by the media, and they were all, Bitcoin is so good, Bitcoin is so good. And then these money people just took them, because while Bitcoin was good at 20K, that's where they put their bets in. Then I don't know what happened, some kind of other selling. The Wall Street people presumably bought a bunch of Bitcoin, sold it, something like that. The price of Bitcoin starts going down. And by the time these people hit their futures call, they lose all their money. So they fleeced them, right? But the beauty of this is you can't make it go down again, right? That's too obvious. So what you do this time, you make it go up. So all the people who just bet on it going up and lost their money, they're all betting down now, or maybe they got scared out of the market. And meanwhile, all the smart money, and this is just a guess, I don't know anything here, but just a guess, all the smart money is now betting on Bitcoin going up. So the futures are actually bullish now that they've taken a bite out. And that's the thing about Wall Street. There's always someone out there who's better than you, who's a better trader, who knows how to manipulate the market. A lot of people say, why don't you have a stop order on your Bitcoin? Why don't you have a limit? You have these different Wall Street trading tools that can protect you. But in a small market like Bitcoin, they can drive the price way down, pick up all of your sell orders, and then the price goes right back up without you being in the market. So there's a lot of potential traps there. And that's why it's not really a strategy. It's more of a philosophy, I think. But a lot of people just hold their Bitcoin. A lot of people, worry about they don't know about all these trading terms. They don't know about limit orders. They don't really want to know. They when you try day trading, you come the problem of nighttime. What do you do when you're sleeping? And you can't day trade when you're sleeping. So that's a big problem for a lot of people. And whether you want to sleep in crypto or sleep in fiat or 50-50 or whatever decision you're going to make, then you have to wake up the next morning and check the charts. So they say, why wouldn't technical analysis work on any asset? I think that it would and it will, but there could also, in a smaller market like Bitcoin, this is a smaller market than normal people usually trade. Smaller markets can be manipulated. Manipulation is not included in technical analysis. Additionally, news, like we saw today, is not included in technical analysis. Sometimes the news supports the analysis, sometimes the analysis supports the news, but I wouldn't directly connect them. Just as in the beginning of the other show, I said that the president doesn't control the economy, which is true. A lot of people like to, what is it? Causation does not equal correlation. You can't just say, oh, these things happened at the same time, therefore they're correlated. You just can't. So, who's teaching people what technical analysis is? I don't know. You can go get a book and read about it. It's very available. So, Tone is. You can learn about candlestick charts and more on Tone Vays' channel. Check that out. But let's see. We also had some good news today about Samsung. But I think it's time we open up the phone lines, and you can Skype us on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. Going to go ahead and open up the Skype lines, get my headphones on so I can hear people, presumably, if it works. And we'll see. Let's see. BC Joey says technical analysis is applying probability to behavior. That's a good way of looking at it. Remember, we all want to limit our risk. That's what things are about. And if you look at charts a lot, in some ways you can limit your risk, but still there are black swans. There are unknown events like today's event that you didn't know about, and it happens anyway. Oh, we could come to Gothenburg, Sweden. Sounds pretty cool, but very cold these days. Today was a total bloodbath, probably because of Tether getting a subpoena from the CFTC. And additionally, we do want to cover the wider markets and say the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 1.31% today. And that's a bit of a surprise. The Dow has been positive about the new president and probably looking forward to his State of the Union speech tonight, unless they aren't. I've heard just from the general non-political news that the president plans to focus on infrastructure and immigration in his speech. Wall Street technically would be a big fan of infrastructure spending, building more roads, ordering more machinery, et cetera, could be good. However, on the other side, immigration, leaving NAFTA, uh, these could be problems for Wall Street, but they have been very bullish so far. Again, we are reacting to Tether confirming that their relationship with their auditor has dissolved. That doesn't sound good. Tether, issuer of the dollar-pegged cryptocurrency USDT, has said its relationship with audit firm Friedman LLP has ended. So this is a problem. And then we also have that, let's see, where is it? Bloomberg reporting that Tether and Bitfinex are said to be subpoenaed by the CFTC. So bad news for them. We are getting some Skype reports. I'm pushing accept now. So if you had tried to call me earlier and we weren't friends yet, I have accepted some new friends. So if you want to give us a call on Skype, World Crypto Network, all one word. Les Grossman says in the chat, all the people behind BitConnect are going to prison. We do have two dramas right now in Bitcoin. We have Bitfinex and BitConnect. They're named similarly but different. BitConnect allegedly had a website that was a loan platform. Allegedly, it was a Ponzi scheme where new money was being used to pay for the old money. This is an interesting Ponzi scheme for those of us on YouTube because a lot of YouTubers, not naming names, supported the BitConnect situation. They promoted it, they had affiliate codes, and they pumped it like any other altcoin. However, this altcoin allegedly is a Ponzi, and everyone lost their money. It went down 90% the other day. And that's the other thing. You can be doing fine. You could have made a lot of money, quote unquote, on paper. Then one day you have a 90% drop and your valuable altcoin is not valuable. But once again, we're seeing Bitcoin drop 50% over a few months here with the 19K down to 10K or 9K. So it can happen to anybody. They say, I heard Roger and his crew are going to pump big time through mid-February. I heard that too on the Andy Hoffman show right here on the World Crypto Network. I heard that there was a pump plan for the Anarchapulco show. I also heard that the host of Anarchapulco, I forgot his name, the Dollar Vigilante, TDV, who recently gave up alcohol and gave up cigarettes, is now giving up Bitcoin in preference for Bitcoin Cash. The entire conference apparently is giving away Bitcoin Cash. We're seeing a lot of people complain that Bitcoin doesn't have any marketing, and now we're seeing that Bitcoin Cash is certainly once again not Bitcoin because they have marketing. Bitcoin Cash is doing things like giveaways. They're working with a lot of liberty groups, and they're convincing, sadly, a lot of gullible and not technically minded people that their solution of endlessly doubling the block size is in any way a solution to the Bitcoin scaling problem. These people are also choosing to ignore the fact that the only thing you can buy for Bitcoin Cash is Bitmain miners, and that Bitmain miners are the same company allegedly running ASIC Boost, which causes them a 30% advantage when mining the Bitcoin Cash network. You have to ignore all of these facts. Let's see in the chat. Do they have anything that can counter that? I'm not seeing. Oh, the guy's name is Jeff Berwick, the Dollar Vigilante. Well, at least I had his nom de plume. Les Grossman says that B Cash is monkey urine and he feels sorry for monkeys. Crypto Designer says everyone knew that BCC BitConnect was a Ponzi, and now the losers want their money back. He compares this to internet cancer. And it does have a bit of a stink of the old millennials. Everybody's really critical of millennials these days, and I'm right on the line there, so I don't know that I can truly get it on the bashing, but it does seem like a participation trophy is in order. You lost your money and now you want it back. Here's your participation trophy. Thank you for playing. We've got another line here on Skype. Let's see. See if somebody's available. Oh, well, we're just going to reach out and start calling people. Here we go. Oh, doesn't look like he's available, but we gave him a ring. We're going to go down the line. Oh, this doesn't look good. This looks like join our ICO. Everything is wonderful. You will get 50% tokens, video reviews. Oh, so we're not doing that. So that's no good. But if you want to Skype us, you can Skype us at World Crypto Network, all one word. They're saying someone said that the problem with the Lightning Network is that the recipient has to be online all the time to sign transactions. That's why some payment apps are choosing Bcash. I'm not so sure about that. I'm pretty sure that's why you would use something like they're getting critical of Lightning because of the hub and spoke model. Presumably, if you sent your transaction through a hub, the hub would continue sending your transaction while you're offline. But once again, this would lead to some sense of decentralization. But then on the other hand, people are actually saying there would be more privacy on the Lightning Network, and that Bitcoin has been sold as a privacy network when in reality, Bitcoin is only pseudo anonymous. It's anonymous if you buy your Bitcoins in an anonymous way, and then if you spend them in an anonymous way and you don't link it back to your address and you don't screw up by mixing any of your Bitcoins together, you have to do a lot of work to really use Bitcoin as an anonymous currency. Whereas it's possible that with the Lightning Network, you would be more anonymous, that you would not know where your coin came from and not know where it went, and have a better level of that. But it's not the same as like Zcash or something where they designed it from that in the first place. Let's see. Jess Bond is bummed out. She says she liked Jeff Berwick for years. How could he team up with Roger Dick? And I don't know. I mean, you got to imagine, to quote Krusty the Clown, they backed a dump truck full of money up to my house. What could you do? You know, right? Krusty, he's got the point. But I don't know. I don't want to be critical of a lot of these liberty people, but a lot of them do seem to give up their liberty ideas whenever confronted. So, in this situation, Berwick might have seen the opportunity to have a great sponsor for his convention. He might have needed a sponsor for his convention and made a bunch of money. Gabriel Vincent Moon is saying in the chat that allegedly Berwick made a lot of money on the Bcash pumps. I also know that Berwick was early on Steam and he was a believer in Steam, so he might have done really well on Berwick. He might have Steam done well on Steam. Sorry, reading the chat and talking at the same time, not a good skill. Um, but no, I don't know these Liberty people. A lot of it is ego, right? A lot of it is when I used to watch Berwick shows, a lot of the show was about him being cool. He has a watery background, he has a glass of wine, he had a cigarette, he didn't seem to care about anything. A lot of people are under the crushing boot of the state, or a lot of people have to work or have to slave at their jobs. They don't like it. Berwick always, at least from the image that I saw, presented the image of him being free. And I think that was a powerful image when libertarians watched that show and they said, wow, I can be like Berwick. I can be free. You know, I can have my glass of wine in the middle of the day and smoke all the cigarettes I want. And that was a image that he's presenting. And it served his ego as representing him as free. And it served his audience's ego by giving them some fulfillment of being free. And when the time came to make a change from Bitcoin to Steam or Bitcoin to Bitcash, then he did it. So they're saying in the chat, Berwick's all about the money. We don't know, but that might be true. We're going to take a quick short break. I'll be right. All right. Was thinking of some ideas here. Yeah, the dog did want in, but she's in now. She's happy. I might threaten you guys by reading you another reading from Trump, The Art of the Deal. Here we go. I've randomly gone to a chapter called Long Shot, The Spring and Fall of the USFL. I was part of the problem. As a witness, I was well-spoken and professional. I think very much a contrast to Pete Rozelle, commissioner of the NFL. But that probably played into the NFL's hands. From day one, the NFL painted me as a vicious, greedy, Machiavellian billionaire, intent only on serving my selfish ends at everyone else's expense. The USFL, attorney Frank Rothman told the jury in its opening remarks, is controlled and dominated by Donald Trump, who can buy and sell many of the owners in the NFL. In truth, of course, the wealthy, powerful NFL owners cowered only to the extent that it served their ends. In retrospect, we might have been better off to put on the witness stands several of the smaller USFL owners who'd lost their shirts and had genuine sad stories to tell. And that was back when Trump backed the UFL, the I don't even know what it stands for, United States Football or United Football League. I don't even know, but it was a competitor to the NFL. And after it failed, he sued the NFL for destroying his business. He said they had a monopoly, etc. So Trump might sue for copyright, but I think he'd lose. Let's see what else. XFL is coming back. It is. The XFL is actually an interesting case started by Vince McMahon, founder of a World Wrestling Federation, now World Wrestling Entertainment, after a long time where the World Wildlife Fund let them borrow their abbreviation until they finally got tired of that. But anyway, Vince McMahon had some interesting ideas for football, many which have been stolen by the actual football leagues. Things like the on the field interview, where a reporter runs up to the coach and says, "You're losing by 30 points. What are you going to do?" And the coach says, "Well, I'm going to tell the boys to do something different." That's a Vince McMahon invention. A lot of the other ideas, he had a more violent take to kickoffs, whereas now you've seen kickoffs pretty much be neutered out of the game because of their potential to cause concussions. Vince McMahon's league was actually targeted at these concussions and featured no fair catches. So if you look up to catch the ball, you could get completely knocked on your butt by having no control and not being able to see anything. Let's see. Art Deal is a great read. Yeah, I don't know about that, man. You'd be better off reading The Art of War, Sun Tzu. I am enjoying the other Trump book, Fire and Fury, but I didn't want to read you guys any quotes because it'll upset you. But it has been a very interesting book inside the White House. Uh, kind of feel like you're a fly on the wall there, and you know everything that's happening. So when you see things like the recent revelation about the Mueller firing, you aren't very surprised because if you read the book, he's constantly ranting and raving about this Russia thing. So DNA Frequency says, with no morals and ethics, you have nothing. And I think this is a really strong statement. I've always talked about morals and ethics mainly in a religious versus non-religious argument, saying that you don't need to be religious to have good morals. A lot of religious people do have good morals, and I laud them for that, but a lot of non-religious people also have good morals. Um, Morality is a choice that you make on your own. I personally choose not to kill anyone because I think that's wrong. I don't need an outside source or a book to confirm that. That's about morals and ethics. Of course, I'm now going to quote the great Coen Brothers movie, Miller's Crossing, which probably very few of you have seen, despite the success of The Big Lebowski and Fargo. But in Miller's Crossing, it's all about criminals, right? And in the opening scene, the Irish gangster is explained to by the Italian gangster that he can't get a fixed fight to go off right. What he basically says is friendship, morals, ethics, hell, Leo. I ain't afraid to use the word. I'm talking about character. And it's getting to be so you can't expect a return from a fixed fight. And if you can't trust a fix, what can you trust? You're back there with animals, betting on chance back in the wild. And he talks about how he can't trust this bookie because the bookie is selling out his fixed fight and how he has to kill the bookie. And the entire drama of the movie is set up in that opening scene between the Irish, between the Italians, and over this idea of morals and ethics and character. And even though the Italian gangster is correct, he's being chiseled, he's being rolled over on, his fix is not working. At the same time, he loses the conflict. The conflict, between the two gangsters, is he right or not, doesn't seem to matter. And it's all about this idea of trusting thieves. And I hate to say it, but it does kind of tie into what we've been talking about with Berwick and what we've been talking with the BitConnect YouTubers. Who can you trust? Who has good morals and ethics? And obviously, I would say the person who's not trying to sell you anything. Anybody that's trying to sell you something has an alternative motive. I bought a couch recently. I talked to this couch guy. He told me all about couches, but at the same time, I knew he was there to sell me a couch, and I knew I was there to buy a couch. We were playing parts. We were playing roles, right? But when it comes down to it, you have to decide who to trust. And if I was looking for my number one research source, I wouldn't choose crypto YouTubers. And I say that as a crypto YouTuber. And I do try to present the best information I have at the time. I'm honest with the people. I try not to promote things. I do promote Bitcoin, but other than that, I try not to promote things. And it just can be difficult. It can be because you get into this situation where you don't know who to trust. You can't even trust a fixed fight. So we do have the call lines open. You can Skype us at World Crypto Network. It's likely that everyone's at work, so no one can phone call. But I did want to talk to you guys during this Tether downturn. We have seen the small up turn back into a down. So we are at $9,979. A lot of people believe that we're going to 7,500 or a perceived point of support. Remember, we're talking about buys and sells here. So if someone has a large amount of buys at 7,500, they're presenting support for Bitcoin. If you have a large number of sells, say people are selling at 10,000, they are providing sell walls. They are keeping Bitcoin down. Do a quick recap of the Tether issue. All right. Earlier this morning, we learned by the Bloomberg terminals, which was put on Twitter, that the crypto exchange Bitfinex and Tether were said to get subpoenaed by the CFTC. We do not have more information on the subpoena issue. Actually, well, I think it was on Zero Hedge, but we have confirmed by Coinbase that Tether has dissolved its relationship with its auditor. To recap, an auditor makes sure your books are right. If the auditor has left, certainly we're only on the outside looking in. We don't have any inside knowledge, but maybe there's something wrong with Tether's books. The idea before has always been that maybe they printed too many. But we are getting a call. Caller, you're live on the World Crypto Network. How's it going?
It's going good, man. It's going really good. Over here in Europe, so it's pretty late. But I wanted to call in. It's just I didn't hear anything about this until Crypto Bobby had put up his video. I don't know if anybody watches that show, but he's all right. He's a good lad to watch. And with this all going on, people don't realize that this is going to happen in such a new trading market. We're talking about the beginning of the beginning, and for those who are just getting in on this, they have to realize that this is going to be happening. Whether it's BitConnect, whether it's Hextracoin, whether it's USDT, you have to do your own due diligence, and you can't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's just part of the game. That's just part of trading. It's a very volatile system, and with fiat just diminishing, it's just people don't realize that this is new, and we're at the very forefront of all the change. You know what I'm saying? And it, it's going to go down. But the whole thing with
So what would you say to someone who bought at 19,000 and they're now at 10,000?
oh man, if somebody had bought that much, then they either have the money to be buying, or they they did exactly what you shouldn't do, and you shouldn't invest everything you have into it, because that's just a beginner buyer. That's like going out and buying a brand new car and trying to flip it or something. It's a bad decision.
Well, I heard recently that Seattle Seahawks Richard Sherman had to convince his mother and like beg and plead with her not to buy Bitcoin at the high.
Well, you see, a high is only so high until another new high comes in. So yeah, it's going to drop. I mean, I've been studying Bitcoin since 2015, and it wasn't really even talked about, and I didn't even get in until the end of 2017, because I wanted to do some research, because I just didn't believe in trading something you can't touch, something you can't see, and something that is traded on there's no regulation. Look at I mean, I invested in BCC. I didn't invest a lot, but I invested enough to realize that this is going to happen. This is it's there's no rules. Anybody can back out any minute. I mean, look at Devore. They were up at what, $100, and now they're at $15. So some of the best platforms are going to drop. And honestly, at this point in case, I think people need to realize that they need to spread it out. They need to take in their ROI. They need to take some of that crypto and turn it into fiat, whether it's euros, US dollar. This is the time and age where the fiat's going to be gone within the next 10, 20 years. No one's going to be using money. Our kids aren't going to know. Like I didn't grow up without the internet, so they're not going to grow up without crypto. If banks are, and they're shaking in their boots, to be honest with you, they know that. And so they're going to do everything they can.
Well, especially, have you seen that study where they say millennials don't trust banks? And it's a 70%, 80%. It's an overwhelming percentage because what they grew up with the 2008 collapse, with all of the other collapses, they just don't trust banks. And it's a perfect situation for Bitcoin.
Well, here's a question. I mean, would you pay somebody to do something you could do yourself even better? A bank doesn't exist anymore to new, millennials, because you have crypto, you have your wallet, you have your ledger. That is your bank. That code, your private key, you don't need to deal with that. And I travel to Australia, to New Zealand. I live in Europe. I'm from America, originally from Colombia. I mean, I realize that you travel enough and you're losing money. I mean, the dollar drops 10% every single year. I mean, the euro is dropping just as much as it has. Since I've been here for the last year, the dollar has dropped significantly. And power to Trump for what he's doing, but he's just pleasing the hierarchy of money, and it's a crumbling game.
It is difficult. I was holding Hungarian florins for a while there, and not doing very well in the prices.
But I've been thinking about investing into the Trump coin, or the Russian mining coin, and things that but at the same time, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. I've got a large spread. I mean, you have your coins that you hodl, you have your coins that you hold, and you have your trading coins, and each coin is going to do something different. You've got your penny stocks. You use those, you trade them, and you leave them. You have your Bitcoins, and you hodl them. This is such a new thing that people, they're coming into virtual reality. You can do anything. You can make a lot of
Well, a lot of these people have never even traded
You've got
stocks, right?
17-year-old Americans who are millionaires, and they're not even 18 years old. And then who's going to tax them? How's that going to work?
Well, and especially because they don't care. They're just moving around the money. Doesn't matter where it ends up, buying things. Who knows?
And why would they care? I mean, they've never had a job in their life. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about freedom to do as you please, come and go, and you can go into any country and pull out your Bitcoin, and boom, you can pay for flights. I mean, you have companies that are paying their employees in Bitcoin. I mean,
Well, that's leading to a problem in Silicon Valley. They say a lot of good engineers have gone Bitcoin, where they got some money last year, and then this year they don't need to work or be an engineer anymore.
absolutely. See, Silicon Valley is just like the banks. They don't support this. You've got your the people that started cryptocurrency. What are they called? The cryptonauts. They're laughing. I mean, they knew this was happening. They knew this was coming, and now we're talking about what is it? Peter Thiel and what's his name? Thiel. I forgot his first name.
Sure,
But
yeah, Peter Thiel.
yeah, and we're talking. I mean, people say that he's the creator of it. He was one of Satoshi Nakamoto's the group, and these people have been talking about crypto since before the internet was the internet. And
Well,
cryptocurrency.
I certainly remember PayPal when it started. I had it on my Palm Pilot, and I hoped that it would replace money. I thought it was great.
Exactly. You have all these trading platforms, and I think banks will always be there. And eventually they'll be seamed out. But if you think about it like this, currency is just a means of trade. If you go to Bristol in the UK, they have the Bristol dollar. Now or the Bristol pound. You can only use the Bristol pound in that city. But if you ever watch the documentary called Tomorrow, it's an excellent documentary. It talks about everything, but it touches base on currency. And currency has been created to the point where it's no longer what it used to be. It used to be a trade system, and it was controlled by the government, obviously, and the royals in power. But it's gotten to the point where they're just pumping whatever they want. USDT is the US dollar, but in the cryptocurrency world, if you think about it.
You almost want to see them do a bust on the US dollar, roll into Fort Knox, give us an actual accounting of how many digital US dollars have been printed, how many real ones have been printed, just the numbers.
Look at the petrodollar. I mean, they killed so many people saying that these people are bad because they wanted to trade it on the pound. Russia's just like totally against it. They're trying to do their own pipes from the Middle East through Asia, just to not have to deal with the U.S. dollar. And you've got China. They're sick and tired of buying the garbage of America. You've got Australia that's just sick and tired of America, and they're always the underdog, and I used to live in Australia, and it's an expensive country, but you're happy. You can feel the vibration. And I grew up in America. I lived there for 23 years, and don't get me wrong, I'm proud to be an American. But what has happened with the power in having that much power is only corrupt. You see it in movies, you see it in Star Wars, you see it in all these big things. This is reality. I mean, that is reality. Evil, it will only beget evil.
Well, and I went to Europe recently, and I did feel that it was different than America. And in Amsterdam, they seem to care more about the people than the corporations. And when I got back to America, I was kind of reminded how everything here is done for the dollar. Like we get really great service, but we have to tip for that service. And that really anyone will do anything for you if you'll pay them. And that really changes the way we work with human beings, where in Europe, I stayed on a lot of people's couches and I didn't really pay them. I mean, I tried to clean up and be a good guest, but they didn't receive money for me staying there. And in the US, I'm not sure how much that would fly.
Well, the U.S. is that is everything. Money is everything. It's a means of exchange for everything, whether it's your honor, whether it's your friendship, I mean, your status. Like, you go out with your friends to happy hour and you go to this really nice restaurant, or you go out with your friends at happy hour and it's the slum restaurant. It's just this dive bar that's just crap because they've got $1 Pabst, and we're talking about that. Money it's a means of who you are in America, whereas in even Europe, it just feels like you either have it and you just use it to your advantage, and it's just kind of like not talked about, and it's not like a big deal if some people have lots of money. But the thing is, in America, there's a huge, you can see the big difference between the rich and the rich and the rich and the poor, where in Europe you don't really see that. You have really rich people living next to poor people, but you wouldn't really see that. You wouldn't see big Escalades in a 3-car garage, or somebody driving down a Ferrari.
Well, and another way they do that is through planning. A friend of mine lives in the Netherlands, and he explained to me how when they bought their house, first of all, the person that owned all the houses wanted to sell like 10 of them, and the government said, "Okay, you can sell 2." And first, I want to differentiate. In the U.S., we're kind of ruled by a real estate developer right now, and there's no way he would ever limit what you could sell, and no one ever gets in the way of commerce here, right? If you have something, you can sell it. If you want something, you can buy it. That's America, right? But in Amsterdam, with my friend's situation, because he was kind of well off and he was moving into this formerly not very nice neighborhood, they only let him sell 2. And for the people they displaced, they paid their rent for the next 3 years. So it is pretty interesting.
Excuse my language. Um, yeah, it's really interesting, to be honest with you, how Europe completely different is different from America. If you think about it like this, I mean, America has been known to control whatever it is, whether it's a market, whether it's a utility. I mean, look at the internet, look at electricity. I mean, they're like anti-corporate, but are they? Because are they really? I really don't think so. I mean, 5G is only in America, so why isn't anywhere else? Because of what it's really doing and how much control you have. 5G it is monetized, and 4G, 3G is not. It's demonetized to a certain extent, and what I'm saying is control. It goes back to the idea that evil begets evil. There's movies. Look at The Wolf on Wall Street, and it's laughed about, and it's like, you do your own due diligence, and if you are doing evil things, like, for i.e. an example, the deep state, how long have they been doing what they've been doing? You have to realize that America is the wild, wild west. It still is, and it spreads, and it's control. But at the same time, how much control is controlling being controlled? You know what I'm saying? It sometimes having less is more. You don't need to have big dollars, or big cars, or big life to really be happy, because I've had that. And at the same time, like I said, I came from Colombia. I had nothing when I was born. So it's just about quality of life. Do you want to look good, or do you want to feel good?
It's really what it's all about. And Wolf of Wall Street was an interesting example, for as much as it was critical of wealth and it showed them getting out of control. At the end, the guy isn't really punished. He's sent to some nice prison. Tommy Chong is his roommate. Tommy Chong suggests that he write a book about his life. He does. It becomes the movie. He's now completely rebounded. People are even listening to him and writing articles saying that the Wolf of Wall Street real character doesn't like Bitcoin. And we're supposed to take that as some kind of, I don't know, a statement of fact. He was the pink slip stock guy who scammed a bunch of people out of their retirements, and he doesn't like Bitcoin. It sounds like a good thing.
Well, when you hear something in this day and age, you really got to take it with a grain of salt. Like I said, you got to do your own due diligence. I should have got in 2015 when crypto or Bitcoin was nothing. And I didn't. I waited a year and a half, and I realized, gosh, what was I thinking? At the same time, in this day and age, you literally have to take everything with a grain of salt, whether it's USDT, whether it's, investing into mining platforms or into whatever it is. You can't put all things in one basket, because if it's something good, you better realize that something bad has control or is going to try to take over it, no matter what, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's whatever it is. And if you look back at the origin of Bitcoin, it's like Monero. They used it so no one knew. They used it because they were like, we're going to use this exchange on the deep dark web. We don't want people knowing what it is. And the origin, it speaks for itself. And now look at it; it's blown up. And yeah, it was evil at the beginning, but at the same time, it's like, you just got to do your own due diligence, man. I mean, everybody should realize that in this day and age. There's 90% of the people living in this world are brainwashed, whether it's NASA, whether it's, currencies, whether it's the president, whether it's the laws. I mean, whether it's the lawyers who are supposed to be doing helpful things. I mean, look at divorce courts in America. They make more money and they have the highest. I mean, judges can't even touch the divorce courts because they over trump other legalities. We're talking about the ownership of a child's life, or money being taken away hourly for $800,000 for per hour for a lawyer fee. I mean, what are you doing? These people aren't going to help you. They don't want you to fix things. The pharmaceutical companies don't want you to be healthy. They don't give it. They don't care. They want to make money.
Well, don't worry so bad about only buying in 2015. I was thinking about putting 1,000 in back in like 2010, and in the same way, I didn't want to lose my money. I saw it as going down a rabbit hole to nowhere, and I was like, I worked hard to get $1,000. I don't have fancy jobs or anything, but no, it's whenever you get in is the right time to get in. You can't worry about the past. And then we're all really early. Even today, as a lot of people are feeling pain and not liking this market, we're still crazy early to this thing. And I still believe it's really useful stuff and going to go up more. So, but that's, again, everyone needs to make their own choices. So.
Well, USDT, it is what it is, man, and it's just a warning sign. This is just going to be one bump along the way. It really will be.
All right. Well, thanks so much for your call. Give us a call back again another time.
Cheers, mate.
All right, cheers. And we had one more call while we were on there. We're going to try to call them back. Let's see. Oh, we got Punk the Small Whale. That sounds cool. Let's give him a call. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network.
Hello, Thomas. How are you?
Hi. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, this is just Punk Rock Moninoff. How are you doing? I'm calling from Canada. I just wanted to talk a little bit about two things: the Google Trends parallel with the price that has kind of been pretty obvious if you search the trends pattern there, and you notice how it kind of fluctuates up and down with it, and what we're going to do about that, because we really have a problem there. I think that we kind of are hitting this mass adoption, and then we don't have the product. It's almost like an old Linux meeting problem or something. Like everybody's sitting around talking, and I don't know. But anyway,
I'm often reminded of like a Field of Dreams, where if you build it, they will come. And we did it backwards. Like, we haven't built the baseball field yet, but everybody's lining up to come here.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like, it scares the hell out of me a little bit, because I'm a small whale, I guess you could say. I've been around since 2012-ish or so. And I just don't understand what the hell, like, we're thinking if we're like, I mean, if we're having the same problems as, say, Linux does with becoming mainstream, then what are we going to do about that? And like, what is Google doing about that with, blockchain technology? And
well, I mean, the main problem we're having is Bitcoin's too popular, right?
What's that?
We're having the problem where Bitcoin is too popular, right?
Well, I think it's a little bit of an issue, like have you ever been to a Linux meetup in your life, or like where there's a bunch of guys sitting around arguing about something that nobody's really solving? And I'm sure if there was like you know, Google had attacked this problem with any pragmatism, they would have really you know, just hired the 250 engineers required to solve the problems that we're having with scaling, for example, rather than just, you know, squabbling over it and trying to make the miners poorer, make us poorer, or whatever, you know, over fees. And
Well, I mean, I think
what's
part
that?
of the problem has been the political influence, the fact that allegedly Bitmain was mining at a 30% advantage with ASIC boost. People might not have understood that or understood, you know, what that really means.
Yeah, it's trouble. And I don't even like using terms like the mainstream media because I think it associates us with the basket of deplorables, so to speak. But I really don't like. I that's another thing that I think Bitcoin's having problems with. Not to jump, but I mean, we're, you know, politically, if you want to talk about it that way, or journalism or whatever, we're having issues with dealing with, you know, these types of journalism attacks that are coming at the wrong time, and FUD or whatever you guys call it. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I don't think that it's really a good thing for Bitcoin to identify itself with a political agenda the way that it has with you know, like, you know, Ayn Rand and Rothbard readers just coming out of the woodwork screaming about Bitcoin is not going to make it. It's not going to make them rich, and it's not going to make, you know, anybody adopt the technology any faster in reality, in my mind. And I'm not accusing you of doing that, Thomas, certainly, but I've noticed there are quite a few of those
Well, I
commentators.
think a lot of that has to do with the basic rules of Bitcoin, the way that the halvenings are set up, the way the 21 million units are locked in. These basic rules agree with a lot of their philosophical ideas, the libertarians and the Rothbardians, these kind of people. So when they see something that mirrors their ideas written into code, they get really excited. Um,
Oh, and totally. But I mean, we're having this problem where, like, you know, like you've alluded to it on the show, and I watch all the time, by the way. But like, you've alluded to this whole concept of, you know, the $1 Satoshi barrier that we're trying to eventually reach, and you know, Ripple had a little run there last week, or last month rather, and you know, the for lack of a better term, or to use like a, you know, like a whatever, but like the average user, or the unadopted Bitcoin user of the future, or you know, to take it even further, like the plebs or the proletariat or whatever you guys
sure.
refer them to them as,
They're
unfortunately.
calling them no coiners or non
What's
coiners
that?
now. They're calling them no coiners.
Yeah, like, I mean, these people are like, they're much more interested in the shiny thing of the moment, and I think that's a problem that, you know, we're facing. Like, we really do need to we need somebody to go through the front door at Google and at Amazon and make this happen. Not like, you know, hodling is great, but if they figure out a way to beat us, which it seems Wall Street is doing, by the way, like, this is like a bloodbath over the last 2 months. You know, and the CME thing. I mean, I don't know. This is starting to look like the uranium chart. So I don't know what to say. I mean, at the end of the day, we're really in a bit of a bad position if we don't, like, get super professional. Companies like Apple are just going to come around and steal our open source code like they have been from, you know, Linux users for years. So, but you know, that's just an analogy, I suppose, but that's how I see it anyway, is eventually
All
that's
right.
happening. And so whether
Well,
we
we'll
like
ask the audience what do they think? Do they think that Wall Street has teamed up against Bitcoin? Are we having problems Google and Amazon not taking us seriously? I think a lot of the problem there.
that parallel with the Google Trends situation, like, alone, right? Like, that's a very, like, that's almost like an Amway question. Like, Amway, the you know, the evil pyramid scheme has the same problem, right? Like, every time that they tell somebody about it, it makes somebody who's in there earlier more money. And I'm not trying to compare Bitcoin's technology to that, but I'm just saying that the economic reality of that is, you know, as an armchair economist, doesn't escape me. So I don't know. Anyway, for what it's worth, Thomas, though, I wanted to say before I let you go here that this really is a great thing that you're doing, a selfless thing, and I don't want to go too far or whatever, but I really do appreciate your coverage and your impartiality in a time in human history when there isn't a lot of that going on in journalism, even especially at the upper levels of journalism or whatever. So, but yeah, anyway, I don't really have much to say besides that. I think we're in a bit of a crisis moment right now, obviously. If we continue to go sideways on the price, it just gives the Googles and the Amazons time to get things together. That said, though, Apple Pay has been a complete failure.
Sure.
It's not that we
Definitely
trust
focus on that.
companies.
Okay,
But
well, thanks so much for your call, and thank you for the kind words. Really,
hey, all the
really
love.
nice.
Thanks, and
And give us a call back again soon. All right. But let's talk about this crisis idea. Are we in a complete crisis? I want to going backwards. What we just talked about. Apple Pay has been trying to steal Bitcoin's idea of payments. They kind of have the QR codes. They have the scanning or the near field communication. You can pay at McDonald's with your Apple Pay, and you can use that all over. But he's totally right. No one's using it. No one's using Apple Pay to pay. I don't know anybody that really uses it. Some people use it as a backup in case they go outside without a credit card, they could pay with their phone. So the big boys are trying to compete with us. Getting Google and Amazon on board. I do wish that Google would give us 250 engineers to fix the Bitcoin problems or to test the Lightning Network or whatever kind of stumblings we're having. But remember, part of the problem there is that Google themselves is a for-profit company, and that if they don't own all the coins, I don't see them getting involved. That's the same thing for Amazon. Amazon's going to end up printing their own coin. Google's going to print their own coin. They're going to compete. Eventually, they're going to become a consortium. And I would say in the short term, everything the caller said was right. Bitcoiners are not organized. Bitcoiners are not professional. The Bitcoin marketing effort is not professional. Bitcoin as a product is difficult to use. The Lightning Network is on top of that confusing, and the blockchain itself is hard to explain. So we're definitely in a rough spot. Linux itself has been in rough spots before. I remember back in the day, no one used Linux. It was a command line operating system. X Windows was frowned upon, and it was really flaky. The X Windows part. I mean, the Linux, the core part of it was great. The command line stuff, running a Apache server, whatever you need, it's going to do that. But desktop Linux, these kind of things, never. We thought never. But I don't know. I installed Ubuntu on a roommate's computer a couple weeks ago. Haven't heard anything about it. He's not having a Windows related freak out. So Linux must be getting better. And that's the thing that's going to happen with Bitcoin. We're in a tough spot. The price is down. The price was up a lot. But what we need is a longer timeline. We need a longer horizon because basically, just like Bitcoin didn't react the way that these corporations wanted, like Coinbase wanted to have more transactions, BitPay wanted to, or sorry, not BitPay, but Bitmain wanted to have this ASIC boost 30% software allegedly. All these things, Bitcoin wouldn't conform to them. They had to create a new Bitcoin, or they had to split off or whatever so they could get that Bitcoin that fit their business model. Bitcoin's not going to fit our business model either. Our business model is probably something like it always goes up and we always feel good. But that's not going to happen. It's going to go up. We're going to feel good. It's going to go down. We're going to feel bad. Maybe it goes up again. Maybe it goes down more, right? We don't know the price, but we need to look at a longer horizon. We need to say we're building something no one else has ever built before. Nobody knows how to build it. Nobody knows how to integrate it. There's no model to follow. And that's another part of that media question we were talking about, where he said the media, they do a bad job on things. And I mean, I believe the media has good intentions. I know many of the conservatives might disagree or might get into a whole political thing. But if you have good intentions, but you don't understand a thing, you usually try to look to history for a model. So when the media looks to history for a model of what does it look like to make a new currency, they see tulips and they see bubbles and they see PayPal becoming eBay's currency, and they see the .com bubble and the booms and the busts and everything, right? And they look at that and they say, "Oh, I only understand the future by looking at it through the past." And the problem is, if Bitcoin is what we think it is, if it is a new currency and if it is record breaking and a big deal, there wouldn't be an example for it in the past. when we switched to the internet, this worldwide network of communications that allows anybody in the world to Skype call me at World Crypto Network on Skype, we'd never done it before. We couldn't look at any past examples of what was it like when a society adopted the internet. And initially, we had much more egalitarian and idealistic ideas about the internet. We even thought, and maybe we still do, but we thought that it could free China, and we thought that it would free everybody, and maybe it could free even North Korea or whoever. Like, if you could get this internet, you could get freedom. But the problem is they put up this great firewall of China. They were aided by the US government. North Korea just doesn't have any computers, so their citizens can't get online at all. Things like this were put in that block the internet from really bringing that freedom that a lot of people thought it would bring. And then we've seen it go even worse this year with the net neutrality rollback, although that is being fought very hard. They're fighting that. So there's a lot for Bitcoin to do. There's a lot of time for Bitcoin to do it in, but unfortunately, it's not going to fit our schedule. So if we want Bitcoin to be everything right now, it's not going to be there. And I agree, it is. The caller mentioned Linux user groups and how people would debate ideas endlessly, but not do code. They are doing code. The developers are developing Bitcoin. I saw a chart yesterday that said there's 150 changes on Bitcoin, only 50 on Ethereum. They're trying to make the argument that Bitcoin's being upgraded more. I don't know if that's convincing, just looking at numbers. But Bitcoin is being developed. We are improving. So let's say, looking at the chat, see what's going on down here. They say it's a great time to buy Bitcoin and Litecoin. It certainly is on sale if you've been watching it recently and you've been. The great part about this, I'll tell you another little story. So there's a lot of people out there on the side and they're like, oh, I want Bitcoin to go down so I can buy back in. Oh, it never goes down. And you always say, okay, well, just wait there with your little pile of fiat and wait for Bitcoin to go down and get back in. But the problem is when it's going down, they're too freaked out. Because look at this, down, we started at 17,000. So anywhere in this point you could have sold and been or bought. You could have said, oh, I got my good deal on Bitcoin at 13,000, or oh, I got a good deal at 10,000, and now there's a deal at 9,000. So it's hard to buy while something's going down, and it's hard to sell while something's going up. What I would suggest is not to think all or nothing. A lot of people are trying to put 100% of their money in or 100% of their money out, and this is leading to tons of stress. Maybe try breaking it up into 10% blocks. Buy 10% now, buy 10% tomorrow. Maybe space it out over a couple of weeks. Anything you can do to not go 100% in and 100% out, I guarantee it'll reduce your stress levels. I don't know if it's always the right decision. The market's different each time. Maybe sometimes you go 10% and then a few minutes later you say, F it, go 90%. That's your decision. You have to make these decisions. But what I would say is it's better to go 20% in, 20% out, than to go 100% in and 100% out and not to have any if it goes up. But once again, if you're risk averse, you also wouldn't have any when it went down. So they say it was on sale at 12K. Are they buying yet? They say the Tether subpoena happened in December of 2017, not this month. It's old news, and they're saying this is FUD by the mainstream media trying to drive the prices down. Not sure about that. The Tether thing has been in question for months. I'm not sure that we knew about the subpoena. Maybe we did. A lot of people have been critical of Tether. The idea itself is very easy to be critical of. And then now that they've at least confirmed that they dissolved their relationship with their auditor, that's not good news. It's not good news. So let's see. There's a ton of sideline money. Bitcoin is the best for day trading. Get in and out with profit. Litecoin is going to help Bitcoin. I don't know. This is all like charting stuff and causation equals correlation. And oh, I ate peanut butter for lunch, so the market went up. And we can't be making these decisions. So But we are looking towards the end of the show, unless there are more calls. We had a call during the last caller. Let's see. No, let's see. Well, you can call us back at SKYPE World Crypto Network. Otherwise, we might look to end this show. Not sure how long it's been. At least an hour, I think. Seems like a long time. But we are still talking here on Bitcoin Talk Show. Going to do a recap of the stories. The price of Bitcoin is at $10,021. Been going up, but mainly down today. We've also seen the Dow Jones Industrial Average go down 1.37%. Presumably pre-selling based upon Trump's State of the Union tonight. Don't know what they know, but maybe they know more than we do. Bloomberg announced this morning on their trading panels that crypto exchange Bitfinex and Tether were to get subpoenaed by the CFTC. As we said, the subpoena was old news, so perhaps this is some fudding by Bloomberg. We did hear that Tether had dissolved its relationship with its auditor. Auditors are said to be watching and keeping track of accountants and books. So this could be a bad sign if their books are not in good condition. We also had reports recently of a large amount of tethers being printed at Bitcoin's lows at the $9,222 level, the previous drop. And there have been mainstream media speculations that they've printed too much tether and something bad is going to happen. So we don't know. The Dow dumped 400 points. That's the 1.37%. And meanwhile, the rest of the cryptocurrency market, we're going to do a quick refresh. Down 9%, down 8%, down 12%. So it's a sea of red out there. So once again, even if you diversified into other cryptocurrencies, which I do suggest, by the way, these days, the altcoins keep going up. So if you buy 10 of them, put $100 in each one, see how it goes. Not necessarily a bad strategy these days. You could even just buy the top 10. I imagine that's what people do. But if you had diversified, you would have lost 10, 20% across the board. Once again, when Bitcoin goes down, the rest of the market tends to follow. In good news today, which is being widely ignored despite its goodness, Samsung will compete against Bitmain as an ASIC chip supplier. It will use its foundry in its semiconductor plant to manufacture Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining equipment. Samsung has one of the largest semiconductor plants, and as the article notes, is South Korea's largest firm. Samsung manufactures panels for Apple laptops, screens for phones, a wide variety of components, and they manufacture a lot of components. So this is a major entrance into the Bitcoin mining space by Samsung. This could help diversify Bitcoin. It could break up the Chinese monopoly as well as the Chinese crackdown on energy usage, and it could help Bitcoin. So good news from Samsung. We've also got good news from the Pineapple Fund, which donated $1 million to the Free Software Foundation. Congratulations to the Free Software Foundation. Charlie Shrem found the coolest thing ever. It's a credit card that you can spend Bitcoin on, and you can send the Bitcoin right to that QR code in the little display there. Very cool. CNBC reports that more than 1 million people signed up for early access to Robinhood's new crypto trading service. And this is another reason that a lot of people think that the price of Bitcoin has gone down lately. There's actually lines at the exchange. Exchanges like Bitfinex and Bittrex and others have become so popular that they're turning away customers, saying, come back later. We can't handle any more customers right now. And Robinhood is doing that same thing. They're bringing in new people. None of these new people have bought Bitcoin, and they're all going to buy Bitcoin, and there's 16 other altcoins being traded on Robinhood. So I don't know why you would stop talking about MSM BS when the Robinhood story is just factual. So I don't know what you're talking about. The chat is starting to lose it. As usual, Coinbase shows its incompetence in big style. While there are transactions with fees as low as 1 Satoshi per byte being mined right now, Coinbase is still using non-SegWit transactions with fees over 100 Satoshis per byte. So Coinbase could be said to overcharge their customers more than 100 times per fees. That's not really acceptable, Coinbase. You need to upgrade your system to SegWit. You need to start using transaction batching. You need to allow your users a choice of what fee they would like to send their transactions with. You're falling apart all over the place there. Not sure what you guys are doing. But thanks so much for watching. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. If it's your first time here, please subscribe down below. Try to do these call-in shows every couple of days. If you haven't signed up for Skype, it's always a good time to sign up for Skype. Then next time you could call us. You could be on the show. They're saying in the chat, Coinbase is down. Not sure about that, but they do tend to go up and down every time the price of Bitcoin moves, which is too bad. Say, why does your wallet change your these are some more personal questions. Do you think it's the right time to buy right now? I think that anybody that's asking YouTube people in the chat whether it's the right time to buy is going to get fleeced. I think that if you're allowing other people to make your decisions, you're always making a bad decision. People need to do their own research, which doesn't just mean asking somebody, even asking somebody smart. I know Andreas Antonopoulos. I could ask him, hey, you're smart. Should I buy Bitcoin right now? And he wouldn't tell me. He would tell me, if you like the technology, buy it. If you can afford to lose your investment, buy it. If you don't invest too much, if you have a strong hand and you're willing to hold for many years until this technology pays off or doesn't pay off. Oh, good. So let's see. Then you can buy it. But otherwise, if you can't take it, don't buy it. If you can't afford to lose the money, don't buy it. If you don't like the price of your product going up and down, don't buy it. But once again, if you don't buy it, you don't get to take part when it goes up. So if you can't stand it going down, then you're going to have a tough time standing it when it goes up. But thanks so much for watching. I will try to do another call-in show maybe later in the evening. Maybe more people can call in. Otherwise, give us a subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Mad Bitcoins. And as always, you can check out the other shows here on the World Crypto Network. We had a really brief Today in Bitcoin update earlier. Andy Hoffman had another one of his crypto vlogs where he's spreading the word to you directly, giving you a little bit, a 10-minute show. And yesterday we had Vortex with the Bitcoin News Show. They had a great discussion about the Lightning Network and Bitcoin and what's going on. And I was just enjoying that before I started this show. So thanks so much for watching. And they're asking about Mad Bitcoins. We're still working on it. We're still working on getting Mad Bitcoins the 4,000 hours that the channel needs to retain its monetization rights. I'll probably run some more viewathons, watchathons on there. In general, if you just want to go back and watch the old videos on Mad Bitcoins, that would help. For those who haven't heard, YouTube, as part of the great adpocalypse and the demonetizations, have started a new tactic against old YouTubers who have an archive. If you haven't made any new videos recently, they're going to demonetize your archive. So because I'm busy on the World Crypto Network channel, I have been doing many videos on the Mad Bitcoins channel. They're now going to sneak in there and demonetize all my videos. So it's only $7-8 a month in ad revenue. It's not the end of the world, but there's the principle of the thing. I don't like it that they're just demonetizing my videos. Also, what if one of my videos became popular? That'd be a bummer. I wouldn't have any ad views for that. They're saying in the chat that Andy Hoffman, they think of Abby Hoffman, author of Steal This Book, which of course I've read. A funny story, a Bitcoin related story. I knew Jesse Powell in college, the creator of Kraken Exchange, a very early Bitcoiner, good guy. And I stole his copy of Steal This Book. So good stuff. Enjoyed Abby Hoffman's book very much, although many of his techniques don't work anymore. he describes things like stealing from supermarkets by knocking over their displays of the canned goods that were stacked in pyramids. They don't do that anymore. And he also described a great situation where he had deep pockets in his trench coat and he would shove them full of steak. And he had something he said about stealing. He said, if you're going to steal, why not steal steak? And that's what I'll leave you with today. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.